Hey everybody, welcome to Daggerheart in Etania. This is Session 0, Chapter 3. I'm going to be reading the description of the city that the party will be starting out in, and from there, you can either backtrack to other chapters where we've had Chapter 1, Character Creation, Chapter 2, Table Expectations, or jump ahead to Chapter 4, Backstories for the characters. We're dividing this up this way to make these more digestible chunks. So without further ado, let's hear about the city of Amicora. Amicora is the second largest city on the continent. It hums with ceaseless activity. As the city sprawls along the western coast, its towering walls seem worn by centuries of salt-laden winds that whistle through the narrow streets. The stone buildings are etched with a pale, weathered crust, evidence of the ocean's relentless caress. The air is thick with the tang of salt and the rich smell of brine carried from the vast rolling sea just beyond the docks. Gulls cry overhead, their shrill calls cutting through the symphony of city life below. The docks themselves are a cacophony of sound, the slap of waves against the wooden piers, the rhythmic creak of ships swaying in the tide, and the shouted exchanges between fishermen, sailors, and merchants. Dozens of fish markets line the wharf, their stalls bursting with the catch of the day. Slick, silver-scaled fish, crabs with snapping claws, and the glistening forms of exotic sea creatures still fresh from the deep. Above, the sky stretches out in a pale azure streaked with long, thin clouds that drift lazily towards the horizon. The sun beats down, its warmth tempered by the cool ocean breeze. The sea beyond Amicora sparkles a deep, endless blue, its waves crashing against the jagged, dark rocks that frame the port's edges. These rocks, like the buildings, bear the marks of time, pocked and scarred by the endless spray of salty water. The city itself is a labyrinth of narrow alleys and wide plazas where the ebb and flow of people is as constant as the tides. Merchants shout to advertise their goods, horses clop along cobbled streets, and musicians strum lutes or blow on pipes, their melodies mingling with the ever-present murmur of conversation. The air is alive with the constant shifting of energy of a city that never sleeps, where fortunes are made and lost in the blink of an eye, and where the promise of adventure lies just beyond the next ship that sails into the harbor. Now, Amicora may be known for its bustling docks and lively trade, but beneath the surface, the city pulses with a different kind of energy. This port is not just a hub of commerce. It's a playground for inventors, tinkerers, and those who seek to push the boundaries of science and magic. Alongside the creak of ships and the clink of coins, another sound fills the air. The faint whir of gears, the clank of metal footsteps, and the hiss of steam-powered engines.
Wow.
In the shadow of the grand harbors, you'll find narrow alleys illuminated by the soft glow of strange lamps that burn with bluish flames, powered by arcane crystals brought in from far-off lands. These streets are home to artificers and alchemists who ply their trade in dimly lit workshops cluttered with brass gears, intricate mechanical parts, and the acrid scent of alchemical concoctions brewing. Sparks fly from forges where metals are shaped, not into weapons or tools, but into the parts of a growing class of citizens, automatons, otherwise known as clanks. Originally, the failed or discarded creations of overzealous inventors, these automatons or clanks, some human-like, others resembling bizarre creatures, have developed a sort of autonomy. Most of them are patchwork beings, cobbled together from mismatched metals, their bodies powered by complex clockwork mechanisms, or the mysterious arcane energies that swirl throughout the city. Their glowing eyes reflect the light of the city's strange contraptions, and their voices, when they speak, are often punctuated by the mechanical clinks of their inner workings. Far from being mere tools or servants, many of these automatons have taken up trades, running taverns, acting as messengers, or even pursuing their own inventive projects. Some are eccentric artisans themselves, constantly tinkering with their own bodies, replacing worn-out parts with experimental upgrades. The presence of these mechanical beings lends Amicora a distinctly steampunk flair. The city is filled with rogue inventors seeking fame or simply survival. Among the labyrinth of smoke-streaked alleys, The skyline, dominated by tall, soot-stained chimneys and the rotating blades of strange wind-powered devices, is a reflection of this invented chaos. Now, as ships bring in goods from across the seas, so too do they import new materials, enchanted metals from distant mountains, volatile substances in glass vials, and blueprints for impossible devices. These imports fuel the ambitions of the city's engineers, who congregate in guild halls where knowledge is shared in whispers over mugs of bitter, blackened brew. Now, the sounds of Amicora are not just those of a bustling medieval city, but the rhythmic clank of clockwork creatures walking beside flesh and blood citizens. In the taverns, you might hear a merchant arguing with a mechanical bartender who adjusts the flow of ale with precise calibrated gestures. Outside, the hiss of steam vents and the groan of mechanical engines can be heard as automated street sweepers clean up after another long day of trade. Beneath the polished facade of commerce, a darker underbelly thrives. The city's experiments don't always go as planned, and the back alleys are littered with the discarded projects of artificers who flew too close to the sun. Black markets for forbidden parts are rare components flourish in the corners of the city, often run by rogue merchants who deal in goods too dangerous or unpredictable for more public venues. These merchants sell arcane power cells, unstable alchemical mixtures, and even the gears and limbs of disassembled automatons scavenged from failed creations or unfortunate souls who didn't make it. In these hidden corners of Amicora, you'll find a sense of thrilling danger. The city is a place where boundaries between life, invention, and magic blur. New inventions are constantly being tested, and with them, new risks emerge. Accidents are not uncommon. An explosion in a workshop, a rogue automaton malfunctioning in the streets, but they're accepted as the price of progress. The city's leader, they turn a blind eye to these pursuits as long as the profits keep flowing, making Amicora both a sanctuary for geniuses and a haven for scoundrels. Now, despite its seedy undercurrent, there's a sense of awe and excitement that fills the air. Amicora is a place where the impossible seems within reach, where the line between man and machine is not just crossed, but obliterated. Here, the future is being forged, one brass gear, one arcane spark, at a time.
Oh, that's fucking sick,
That's fucking
dude.
nuts.
That's
Holy
insane.
shit.
Steampunk? Hell yeah, dude.
You good? Are you good with that?
I'm so good.
Fuck, we're good with
All right. So develop your backstories based on that description. You've got a lot. I think you've got a lot to work with. I am not going to give you the underpinnings of how the party gets together or meets. We'll save that for session 1.
Right.
Okay. But there you have it. All right, everybody. We'll see you in chapter 4.